Hi there, how's it going? It's me, Teacher Mike from Phuket Pals. Welcome back to another GED video. Now in this one, what we're going to be focusing on is how to prep and pass GED in 8 weeks. Now this video is aimed at students who already have a solid academic background. We're looking at students who can read closely to complex texts. We're looking at students who have already got quite a few years of high school under their belt. If you're a second language learner, you really cannot even think about this, what I'm going to explain to you, unless your English reading level is on the Common European Framework for Languages, approximately upper intermediate levels. So you're looking at a B2 kind of level. Okay. Now, this 8-week program is not designed for people who have missed loads of high school or people who struggle big time with English language. This is for people who maybe they've just missed a little bit of high school and they want a kind of an accelerated program to get their GED to move forward. Or maybe it's an international student who has been on, for example, a British curriculum program like IGCSE, and they want them to step up and do GED and get away to university as quickly as possible. Okay, so stay with me. See if this suits you. There's some good stuff in here. Let's have a look. You can see there's how to prep and pass GED in 8 weeks. Week 1, number 1, prepare 4 separate Google Docs for the subjects. So as you all know, and you definitely should know if you're going to do this program, you have to do science, RLA, reasoning through language arts, social studies, and mathematics. Okay, so you need to prepare a separate Google Doc for each of the subject areas. Don't try to make all of your notes on one document because it gets too confusing. There's too much information and your head could do without it, to be honest. You need a break. Make your life easy. So prepare 4 separate Google documents. That's the first thing. Number 2, take a GED Ready Test and find out your weaknesses. Now the GED Ready Test is available on GED.com. You just go on there, you make an account, and you can book your GED Ready Test for $6 US per subject. So it's about $24 in total. Sometimes there's special offers as well if you buy all 4. You can just check out GED.com to find out the situation at the moment. Now, the reason, well, firstly, what is GED Ready? GED Ready is a shortened version of the full GED test. So it's approximately half of what you would get in the real thing, but it feels, looks exactly the same as the real test on the big test day. Okay. Also, you have the pressure of time on there, and yeah, it's pretty good. Once you finish your GED Ready test, you'll get instant feedback on what you did well and what you didn't do well. So it'll give you a list of the skill areas you need to focus on if you want to get a higher score. And it also gives you your score on a scale. So it's like unlikely to pass on the left, too close to call in the middle, and then likely to pass on the right side of that scale. It's color coded as well, just to make things even more simpler for you. So yeah, that's what you have to do. So once you do the GED Ready test, you get your feedback from them. You need to write down all of your weaknesses. And I advise you to write it down on paper or bits of card for each subject and put them on your wall, preferably in front of your desk. Or if you want, you can just put them as notes on your desktop, or whatever way you want to organize this. Personally, I prefer bits of paper stuck on the wall because I always study at the same place, and then I can kind of keep looking up and focus on what I'm doing. Okay, so for example, one of your weaknesses might be need to work on or understanding the writer's main idea in a paragraph. Okay, so then if you have that on your wall, you can focus on that later. Okay. Third thing you need to do in the first week is check the concepts needed for each of the subject areas. Okay, now if you go to this link here, magoosh.com, GED, what's on the GED test, you'll get a really nice overview of what you need to know for each of the 4 GED subject areas. So for social studies, it'll be things like the War of 1812, or it could be about the Constitution, or it could be about the Civil War or the Revolution. These are all areas that you need to know about in order to get a good score in the test. Okay. Then once you know these overview areas, once you know the core concepts for each subject area, then you can get a GED aligned textbook a GED aligned textbook, and then start reading chapter by chapter what these core concepts are for each subject. Now, I usually use the McGraw-Hill GED textbook. Okay, so if you just Google McGraw-Hill GED, you will get options of where to buy this textbook. It's an absolute beast. It's huge. It's like over 1,000 pages long. But you need to get the work done in these 8 weeks. And these textbooks give you a nice kind of compact overview for each of the concepts for each subject. Okay, so for example, in social studies, the War of 1812 might be like 1 page of writing that you can read into yourself and just get to know this concept and what it was all about. Because in the GED test, you don't need to know mega detail for everything. You just need that kind of overview for each core subject area. And once you know that, then you can focus on the skills to pass the test. Number 4 in week 1 is check the PLDs. These are the performance level descriptors. These are given by GED.com. So if you click on the link here, just type in PLDs or performance level descriptors GED, and they'll come straight up on Google. Okay, or you can use this link if you want. What are the performance level indicators? Well, these are, they show you the skills that are needed to hit the different passing levels in the GED test. So if you get a 145 overall in the GED test, that's called a pass, okay, a diploma pass. If you look up the PLDs for a 145 or a diploma pass, you can see the skills you need for each subject in order to get that score. Then if you go up to a 165, that's college ready. You can look up the PLDs for college ready as well, and then see what skills you need to improve upon, or what skills you need in order to get that pass. Okay. Next thing you need to do in week 1 is make an effective study schedule. Okay, you can do this on Google Calendar if you're using Google Drive, which you probably will be if you're using Google Docs, like I said earlier. So make your study schedule. It has to fit your working schedule, or your just basically fit your life. So get things in there. I advise studying. It's not for everyone, but I advise doing a few hours in the morning and then a few hours in the early afternoon, then free yourself up in the evening. That's my personal preference. I always feel sharper in the mornings anyway and fresher. So I would have breakfast and then do a 2-hour block, then have lunch, then do a 2-hour block, and then later in the day, that can be some light reading of fiction and non-fiction, which we'll come on to in a minute. Okay, so make sure you've got that study schedule either on paper, again on your wall above your desk, or put it on Google Calendar, somewhere where it's written down, and you'll then be able to look at it and hold yourself accountable for what you have planned. Also, you need to think about your study style in week 1. So are you going to go solo, or are you going to go with a friend? Some people study better in groups. Some people study better on their own. This is a personal preference. For me, I would advise people to study on their own, as a lot of people doing GED will be going on to 3rd level education at university or college, and most of your studying is done alone anyway. But if you want to study with friends, you can. But I think you'll make more progress if you really, really knuckle down and just get your teeth into this on your own for 8 weeks. 7th thing you need to do in week 1 is choose a novel. Okay, so like a fictional novel. Have a look at some different novels in the bookshop, in your local bookshop, or on Amazon Kindle if you have one of those, or you can just grab some PDFs online if you want to. Make sure that your novel is at least grade 10, if not above, reading level. So if you Google grade 10 to 12 recommended novels, okay, then you'll get a list and you can buy one of those online, or if it's a classic book, you can grab a PDF of it somewhere online as well. You need to be reading novels. You need to be reading what's called extensively, okay? Because reading extensively improves all aspects of your English. It improves your vocab, your sentence structure, your vocabulary, your reading speed, which is very important for the GED test, and many other things as well. So make sure you're reading a novel also. And you should be reading a novel, to be honest, for 30 minutes every single day of this 2 months, okay, 30 minutes. Make sure you timetable that for yourself. The next thing you need to do is choose some quality non-fiction. Okay, so non-fiction can be reading the news, for example. So go to a website like the BBC or the Guardian or any other quality news source. I recommend the BBC and the Guardian as they're quite reliable for their news. And then you can read any articles. You can read articles about whatever you want, as long as it's non-fiction. Just reading the daily news is good enough. But as long as you're reading those full articles and getting a grip, getting a kind of idea of what's going on, this is very good for you. So 30 minutes a day for this as well. Okay, so that's 30 minutes of reading a novel, 30 minutes of reading non-fiction from either the BBC or the Guardian or something like this per day. Okay, so there are the 8 things you need to do in week 1. Now, once you've finished week 1, you're kind of getting yourself settled, you've got your timetable done out, you've got your resources, you know the key concepts, you know the 4 subject areas, you know the weaknesses that you have in those areas, and you know the skills that you need to focus on. In weeks 2, 3, 4, and 5, you have to focus your study efforts on your weaknesses, okay, and stay on track with your schedule. Okay, so again, you know what your weaknesses are from your GED Ready Test at the start, and you'll have written those on your wall or wherever. So when you're studying, let's say you're studying again the War of 1812. Well, if one of your weakness areas is main idea, okay, finding out the writer's main idea, you could type in War of 1812, GED main idea. Okay, and find mostly when you search things like this, you'll get maybe a short paragraph question about the War of 1812, and you'll be able to take a main idea question about that. Okay, or you can also type in if main idea, if this particular skill is an issue for you, you can just type in find the main idea, grade 10 to 12 worksheets, something like that, and you'll get loads of stuff online that you can practice with. Okay, so remember, when you're practicing these skills, it doesn't always have to be from a past GED exam, a question from a past exam. You're trying to sharpen your skills here, and that doesn't mean just taking endless exam questions, okay? Get in, as I say, just Google these things online, and you'll find so many worksheets that you can play with. Next, you need to stay on track with your schedule. So make sure that you stick to that study timetable and don't deviate. Don't drift off from that, because it's very hard to get back on track. Just stay focused. There's only 8 weeks, short time. Number 8, make flashcards for key concepts. You can use Quizlet for this if you want to use your computer, or you can just use your Google Doc if you want as well. So, for example, in the RLA test, you might have key concepts like what is a metaphor, what is a simile, what does it mean to, what is the tone, the writer's tone. So you'd have like, what is the writer's tone, and then you'd say what that is. And you can make a flashcard online flashcards on Quizlet, where you have the definition and the word that flip over, or you can just do the definition and the word or phrase on your Google Doc. This is really important to build up these key concepts and what they mean. Very, very important for kind of just getting it that extra edge in the main test. Also, as I said before, you need to be reading your novel for 30 minutes per day, and also reading your nonfiction for 30 minutes per day. Now, the amount of time you study on your weaknesses, it all depends on how much time you have. As I said earlier, I recommend 3 to 4 hours per day if you can do that. So you might have 3 hours of 3 to 4 hours of focusing on your weaknesses, okay, and as I say, sharpening your skills with worksheets online, and then doing your 30 minutes reading of the novel, 30 minutes reading of the nonfiction on top of that. Okay, don't miss, both of them are very important if you want to increase your score. So do both of those things, okay, this one and these here. Then in week 6 and 7, you're getting closer to the big day, the big test day. And what I would do then is take another 4 GED Ready tests, just like you did in week 1, and then check to see if you've improved the problem areas from week 1. Okay, so you can kind of cross-reference your weaknesses that you get from these GED Ready tests with the weaknesses in week 1, and see if you're all of your hard work is paying off. It should do. It should do if you work hard enough, like I said. So see what those final weaknesses are. Once you know what the final weaknesses are, just zero in on these remaining skill areas and practice, 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 okay? Don't forget as well that you need to be reading, you also need to be, when you're studying here, okay, with your schedule, you also don't forget about your GED aligned textbook, your McGraw-Hill or whatever. Keep on reading from that as well, just to get those core concepts into your head. Very important. Okay, so just the last couple of weeks is really practice, practice, practice with the final weaknesses that you have from the GED Ready Test. Okay, and that's about it. Week 8 is the test week. So you'll schedule your test and hit it. Okay, now with GED you get the option to choose. You get flexibility of when you take your test. So if you have the time, I would advise to take one test per day. Okay, one test per day is better. Don't take all 4 in one day because it's murder. It's awful. If you're really stuck for time, you can take 2 each day, but I advise taking 1 each day just to maximize your chances of getting the score you want. And that's about it. Okay, so that is my 8-week program for GED success. Okay, prepping and passing the GED in 8 weeks. If you have any questions about this, you can hit me in the comments below, and I'm more than happy to answer your questions. But anyway, thank you. I'm Teacher Mike from Phuket Pals. I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy. Bye-bye.